Welcome to Life-Changing Challengers, the podcast where passion meets purpose. I'm Brad Minus, your host, guiding you through stories of transformation and triumph, from endurance feats to overcoming adversity. Our guests defy the limits and inspire action. Ready to ignite your desire and incinerate your barriers? Join us. Your journey to the extraordinary begins now. And welcome back to another episode of Life-Changing Challengers. As always, I'm your host, Brad Minus, and today I am extremely lucky, honored, and privileged to have Dan MacQueen on the show. Hey, Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, I'm very well. Thanks for having me on the show.
I am super honored to have you on here. Thank you so much. So Dan's a keynote speaker, and he delves into changing your mindset into and looking at things in a different way. But, of course, as the question is always up first, Dan, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, what was the complement of your family, and what was it like to be Dan as a kid?
Sure. So I was born and raised in Ottawa, Ontario, which is great if you avoid the summers and the winters because they're sweltering hot and they're freezing cold. I played a lot of road hockey growing up. I was a big hockey player. Every day after school, we played road hockey for hours. Lots of fun with my brother, as we always didn't see eye to eye for a long time there. But my family is my mom, dad, brother, and I. Everyone's still together now. My brother lives in San Diego. We grew up playing road hockey all the time. We moved to Vancouver when I was in grade 6, which is quite a difficult move. Not difficult, but like an adjustment, right? In grade 6, you're a bit uncertain, unconfident, and you move into a school. All the friends you built up, you're going to go to high school next year, and you lose all that. So it's a bit lost there for a bit. But got back into sports and made some really good friends there. High school was phenomenal. Lots of great friends. In fact, I had my 20-year high school reunion last month, which was quite an interesting experience.
Nice.
Very cool to see. Went to high school in Vancouver. Then went to University of Victoria for my university degree, which is awesome. UVic is a great school. Victoria is a beautiful city. Really enjoyed that. Made lots of lifelong friends there. Lots of partying. Studying, of course, but priorities are priorities on that. And then after university, I lived at home, worked for BC Hydro, did a little bit of energy conservation work, and then I moved to Sweden for a master's in 2011. Moved there because I had a university or a passport from Austria. So I found out if you got a European passport, you get free education in Sweden. So I thought that's a pretty good opportunity. So picked up, moved to Sweden, Malmö, Sweden for a master's in leadership for sustainability. Lived in Sweden for a year. And then after that, moved to London, where all this kind of kicked off.
All right. So let's step back just a little bit. So you said you had a brother, and you grew up pretty close. What were the age difference?
He's 2 years younger than me, but 3 grades younger than me.
Okay.
So he's an 89, I'm an 86, so he's 3 years younger than me.
All right. So you were close? Sounds like you were.
We're close now. We were close growing up, but as brothers do, you fight. And we fought like cats and dogs, and I was told that I was always justified in my beatings. He's a lot bigger than me now, so it's something that I beat up when I was younger because he's a lot bigger than me now. So we played sports together, we studied together, we went to parties, and he went to UVic as well, and went to Sweden as well, so we both had that in common, and I've grown to be quite good friends now. He's on my back all the time. We chat quite often, and he's a great dude. Dan MacQueen, based in San Diego, California.
Nice. Love San Diego. And you said you played sports. What sports did you play?
So I grew up playing ice hockey. And when we moved to Vancouver, I couldn't get in an ice hockey team, so I moved into soccer full time and played soccer, football played high school soccer. And then played soccer even in London for a little bit, 5-a-side, not the full pitch because my stamina and my endurance crapped out. But I played ball hockey in London as well. Love playing hockey. As a Canadian, you have to with Ray Patrick.
Yeah, right.
From Florida, you must be quite into hockey as well because Florida just won the cup.
Right. Well, so I live in Tampa. That's the Lightning, and we did win the cup a few years ago, and then a couple of years prior to that. But now it's the Florida Panthers have just gone crazy over the last few years. They're always in the cup. So it's nice to have it out here. Of course, I grew up in Chicago, and I played a little bit of hockey. I wasn't the greatest skater in the world, so that kind of changed. But I did play 12 years of soccer. So now you said soccer, football. So do they call it soccer or do they call it football in Canada?
call it soccer, but living in London for 10 years, if you call it soccer, you get laughed at any pub or any room or conversation you have. So I call it footy. Call it footy now. Because it's like, it's a mixture of soccer and football. Because when I say football, it's, American football. It's like, no, it's like football, soccer. But we just played the Copa Cup, so Canada just came fourth. They lost to Uruguay, but they were up 2-1 with 5 minutes to play. And then unfortunately they tied and lost in shootouts. But very good result for Team Canada. Very proud of that.
Awesome. I just had an episode with somebody. I don't remember who. Dan Story. Because he said that he actually played American football in London when he was in England. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I played a lot of it. Like, it's getting popular out there. And I was like, I was so totally shocked because I asked him the same thing. I was like, is it soccer or is it football? And he was the same thing. You can call it soccer, but most people will still call it football. Then it's football and American football.
It's American football. It's like, if you call it soccer in a pub, you get laughed out of the pub, man. So you learn pretty quick. You do that a couple times. Like footy. I call it footy now. Save face. I remember meeting a girl at a party in London who was the head of the NFL in London. She's already a team in London for sure. I'm like, there's no way you're going to get a team in London. The travel is excruciating. But she was convinced, and as far as I'm aware now, there's no team in London. So I think I might have been right, young lady.
So far, yeah. So I grew up in Chicago, and Chicago is in the other conference. So they only play Tampa Bay every 4 years. And then every 4 years they flop, they switch, right? So this next time that they play, they're going to be in Chicago. The last time they were in Tampa, but the last time when they played, they were supposed to be in Tampa for home, and they ended up playing in London. Chicago and Tampa Bay.
For the teams to endure for that, that's a lot of ask for them to do that.
Yeah. So I guess, and now they're literally talking about putting NFL games. Obviously, they'll still do the London game, and they're talking about some other places as well, and putting it around the globe, trying to get more patronship for the NFL. Which I think it's great. The amount of money that football players make in Europe is crazy. It's nuts, but you just fill every stadium every time, and there's a lot more games. It's amazing.
It's a passion thing, and I watched the Euro final, England versus Spain. Sad to see Spain win, but very well deserved. They played a very good game. But footy in London and in Europe is massive. World Cup is insane. It's a whole nother level of sports. I really appreciated it when I was there because I used to play soccer, football, footy growing up.
Right.
But I did miss my hockey because there was not much hockey content over there. So I got back to Vancouver now. Watched a good Stanley Cup run by the Canucks. They did very well this year. Very well, overperformed compared to how they were expected to do. So I'm very proud and looking forward to see how they do next year.
Awesome. So did you played in college, or did you actually play on an organized league for University of Victoria, or? No,
I played intramurals, which was run over Sunday game, but we won a few championships as a singles team, which is very unique because usually there are a whole bunch of mixed match people they put together. We won to be 4 championship teams, which is insane for intramurals. Because you're playing after a good Saturday night, so you're playing pretty 3 sheets to the wind on a Sunday.
Right.
But I really enjoyed playing, and I really had a passion for the sport. I played center mid, so I was enjoyed that element of the game. And now when I watch footy, I watch as a center midfielder and just see how they react and move, and if I would do the same thing. And suffice to say, I don't always do the same thing, and I'm not there for football, so it's okay.
Yeah, I was a center midfield for a while, and I played on the left wing for a while, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't great or anything like that. And I got my introduction to rugby on the rugby club in university. So that was fun. And I played the wing there too, because I'm small. But anyway, so you said you went to work before you ended up going to Sweden.
I worked in Hydro for a little bit. I worked in BC Hydro, the utility company in Vancouver, working on the Energy Smart team. So like conservation and saving energy and doing events, which was really fun. But you work Saturday, Sunday. So it was very much an abrasive adjustment as a young 20-year-old who was quite into the bar scene, going to work on a Saturday morning at some local event. And you're just like, oh my goodness, what am I doing with my life right now? You're a bit ropey from the night before, and you're making it work. And It was a great job. Taught me how to be professional and then make things work and make it happen. I really enjoyed the job. Calling for higher education and more adventure came over me. I decided to move to Sweden, so I gave up that job.
So you mentioned that you also had an Austria passport. How did that come to pass?
Yeah, my Opa is from Austria, so he moved to Canada when he was after the Second World War. Met my grandmother on the boat, and they had my mom shortly there afterwards. So that was how my family started. They grew up in St. Catharines, Ontario.
Okay. Oh, so you're just able to pass that down? I kind of don't know anything about that.
So I got my mom to get her passport because I knew that this could happen, but she had to get her passport first.
Right.
And then she got mine, and she said, well, you're just going to move away when you get your passport. I'm like, Mom, I won't move away. So I got my passport. I was applying to school in Sweden, and I was gone the next month.
Nice.
It's free in Sweden, right? It's a great deal because master's degrees in Vancouver are going to be $20,000. Or I could live in Sweden for a year and spend probably more than $20,000 on living, but like, what an experience Sweden was. It was awesome.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. So you got your degree in Sweden, and then you said you moved to England. What precipitated that move?
Well, I tried to get jobs in Copenhagen or across the bridge, and language was an issue. I can't speak Swedish or Danish, and that is not always an issue, but for the jobs I was applying for, it proved to be a pretty big sticking point. And where can I go in Europe that's going to keep this party going? And London's a pretty easy space. I speak the language. Moved to London, crashed on the floor for a few months in my friend's place. Heidi Klassen, showed Heidi Klassen. Literally stayed on a mattress on her floor for 4 months. And then went out with a buddy for drinks who worked at a tech company called Hootsuite.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a tech company, SaaS company based in Vancouver. They got an office in London, so I applied for a job there as a customer support representative. Got a job there and off to the races.
Yeah, I used Hootsuite for a while. Yeah, it was an amazing. It was an amazing program. I imagine it's probably still around. It's just it's got a lot more competition than it did back then. That was literally the only SaaS program that you could literally get your feeds from all of your social media at the time.
Yeah, it's an OG social platform.
Yeah.
I worked in customer support and then moved into professional services. So that was more training, enabling, and set up the account, which was great. I loved it because it was very much like I could call my own shots, run training sessions, set up their accounts. You're like the rock stars of the Hootsuite company. So I'd run sessions in front of the whole room. And it's an open plan officer, and I'd run from my desk so they'd all hear me. The start, I was pretty crap trainer, to be honest, but I wrapped up and improved and learned from my failures, and eventually I was pretty good and pretty confident speaking in public, which paid dividends.
Yeah, well, obviously. And that's funny. And it's funny you just said that, because I was just on text, a group text with a friend of mine, and she has a podcast as well, and she's just getting started, and it's not really, she's got like 65 episodes or something like that, and she's frustrated. And I was like, we're just getting started. You can't let that happen to you right now. And she runs a mindset podcast, which makes it worse. But just like you were saying, it's saying, hey, what you said, you were pretty crap. I'm still learning myself, but this is going to be episode 43. I'm still learning myself, and it's just keep going at it, and you're going to find your rhythm. And obviously you did, which is great, which is fantastic. Now, here's where we get to the crux of it, right? So I have not given any hint about this. So, and unless anybody has gone ahead and already researched Dan, here we go. So talk to me about your starting of your symptoms before you first went to that first optometrist appointment.
Yeah, so I started having headaches in London, like bad headaches. I've been taking painkillers like candy for them. Head was pounding. So in Berlin the weekend before this happened, and the next day I came back to London, and my headaches were horrible, like they're raging headaches. And I went to A&E, which is accident emergency or ER. They thought it was vertigo, and they sent me home. And the next day, the headaches were so bad, I was in the tube, lumbering toward the Nine Hill Gate tube station. Have you been to London?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I'm on the district line, which is a slow roll, meaning it's a slow train. The trains are better now, but there used to be the circus train to the gate. And my headaches were so bad, my vision turned to go spotty and starry.
Ouch.
And it started to fade. Like it started to go creeping from the sides. It started to go to black. It was a race. Arrived in Notting Hill Gate tube station, and the curtain fell. Stepped on the platform behind the gap, and I stood there, blind. I couldn't see. Now, I want to ask you, Brad, able-sighted person your whole life, step onto a busy tube station in London, and suddenly you're blind. What do you do? What do you think? What do you feel?
The only thing I could think is to scream for help. Is just to ask somebody, is just, can you help me? I'm blind. I probably would be doing that. I'm like, oh my God, I can't see. Can someone help me?
That's a good response. I didn't do anything. I stood there and I thought some more. The longest 3 minutes of my life passed, and then my vision came back, and I carried on that day. The next day, I found myself back in A&E. I told them what had happened. There's something wrong here. I was blind on a tube station. This is not normal. What's going on here? Let's figure this out. If I was ready to go again, they sent me home. But on the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked with an optometrist. The eye doctor, right? So next day, the headaches came back with a vengeance. Not blinding, but not far off. They were excruciatingly painful. Found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam. Excuses himself from the room and comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope, which he hands to me. He tells me to go directly to Moorfield's hospital, which I did. Well, Brad, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, phone charger and a bite to eat. Then I went to Moorfield's hospital, handed them that same sealed envelope. They ran the same tests again, then escalated me up to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking, this is positive. Now, it turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a growth in my pineal gland that was preventing the fluid from my brain to drain as it normally would. Now, it turns out I require emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Now, it turns out my worlds would change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom received says, I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan. Mom's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. And I have a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. Then the cyst burst when they operated. Mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks. I was in and out of consciousness for months after that. Things were dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, I was learning to walk, talk, and smile again.
Wow. I can't even imagine what you felt like when you regained consciousness the first time.
Well, I woke up in the hospital bed. My mom, dad, and brother on the bed. I'm trying to talk, but I can't talk. My vocal cords are fried from the tracheotomy they gave me. So I'm trying to communicate with them when I can. They go, give me a pen and paper. Which I'm sure they're relieved to see, because at least it means I could still function and think and write and do this. I write in the pen and paper. I go, get me out of here. Show it to Cam, my brother, and I go, you, make this happen. He's just, what do you want me to do, bud? You're hooked up to tubes and hoses. You can't walk. My leg had atrophied in the coma. I couldn't walk. So it went 0 to 60 in 8 hours, and I woke up 4 weeks later, able to walk, talk, or smile. Being told, hey, Dan, you had a brain hemorrhage. You were in a coma. You can't walk. You can't talk. They didn't tell me I couldn't smile, but it's something I'm still working on today.
Mm. So, what do you do? Like I say, so now you're lying in bed. You've got all this stuff. They tell you this. What is the first thing that goes through your mind?
Well, you get negative off the hop. Like, what? This is ridiculous. This is unfair. This is bad. And like, let's quickly look, dude, this is your situation. You're in this pit. And you got to think about how you're going to adapt this and evolve and adjust. So very quickly, I made up my mind, like, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters. An Epictetus quote, a Stoic philosopher. And I quickly worked at getting in the wheelchair in 45 minutes, not 50. And then 40, not 45. And then 35, not 40. And then 30, not 35. Incrementally ratcheting this up and trying to improve my lot. But this took minutes, hours, days. This was arduous. This was grinding. Everything was achy and painful. To get in the wheelchair was horrible. I was showered in the wheelchair. I had to get in the wheelchair and get showered and dry myself in the shower and then get back in the bed. It took an hour to do this. This is nuts. I couldn't talk, right? The way the nurse got me talking again, my parents, first of all, they gave a little dossier about myself when I was in the coma. Who Dan is, not this blob on the bed, but like a a sportsman, a Canadian, a traveler, all the master's graduate, all these fun things I've done. Showed them I had a personality. I was a real person. I wasn't just this blob. And where the nurse got me talking to me, they took me down to the park. This kid's playing footy across the park, soccer across the park. And she goes, Dad, those kids across the park, they don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk. And I found out pretty quickly that's a trigger for me. And I found out pretty quickly that I can talk. And I yelled some profanities across the park. I'll spare you and your listeners, but let's just say I found my voice and I found my motivation. Proving you wrong was huge. But everything was this fight, this battle, this grind, this ratcheting up of the processes and can-do attitude in order to walk out of a splinter from my left leg. Splints like a cast to gently tease out your leg muscle. That's the baggage of the soul. Gently tease out the leg muscle, they told me. There was nothing bloody gentle about the splint. But the first night I wore the splint through the night, no issue, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. The second night, after 20 minutes, it was painful. After 30 minutes, it was dreadful. After 40 minutes, it was unbearable. I buzzed the nurse with the clicker. We got this splint off my leg. This is too painful, I tell them. But tomorrow, we're doing this for an hour, I say. Big talk. Third night, they wrap my leg. They tie it off with the ankle. Give me the clicker, the nurse call button. They go for control the Wilson ward. Now, the Wilson ward was an L shape, so short on this side, long on this side. Okay, Brad, short on this side, long on this side. We leave them in a hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell. Sanitized, sterilized, clean. You wonder what sort of atrocities have been committed under the guise of this Lemony's estimates. After 10 minutes, the leg's painful. After 20 minutes, the leg's dreadful. After 30 minutes, the leg's unbearable. I start passing the clicker back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain, right? Now, I'm wearing the eye patch today because I've got double vision, Brad, but I didn't have it at the time. If I don't have the eye patch on, I see 2EU. Trying to catch a clicker back and forth with double vision is a fool's errand, as I learned. As the pain ratchets up, my throats get more enthusiastic. Until eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker that lands on the hard aluminum floor 3.5 feet down the ground. Sugar, I say. Brad, I'll be honest, I did not say sugar.
Yeah, I heard as much.
I look over the edge of the bed, I see the clicker on the floor looking back at me. If I get that clicker, I can stop this pain, I can end this monstrosity. Only problem was fall from that height, my break my arm. In fact, I figured about a 50-50 chance to break my arm on coin flip, not the best odds. I changed tack. I'm trying to undo this, but it's tied up with the ankle, not the hip. I can't reach that far down, I'm not that flexible. Help. Help, I yell. The ward was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're at the far end of the ward, they can't hear me on L. I said I'm going to flip the coin. Grab the clicker, because even if I break my arm, this splint's got to come on my leg right now. This is the number one priority in my life. Lower myself off the edge of the bed, and I crash down in a heap. Blankets, wires, cables is all a go. The arm holds, and I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurses to come bursting into the room to come to rescue, like the bat signal's been put up. They kind of stroll in 5 minutes later. What are you doing the fool of? First of all, I say, it's a lovely British accent out there. Where's you from again? I didn't say that either, Brad. Let's see this link out in your life, please, and tell you all about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters, right? The reason why I'm telling this story, Brad, is I learned 3 lessons from this experience. The first being, my most obvious, let's not pass the clicker back and forth. That's a bad idea. The second lesson was let's tie the splint off at the hip, not the ankle. That way I can untie the shit that's happened going forwards. And the third lesson, and probably most profound, is let's always be solutions-oriented from this going forwards. How can you resolve your issue, not what your issue is? With the help of the splint, we'll start walking the halls of the Wilson. On the zero frame, then I moved up to what I called the Ferrari. A 4-wheeled walker and Ferrari racing red, so I call it my Ferrari. Then I moved up to naked walks. Now, what's a naked walk, may I ask, Brad? I'm just walking those sport raids, but I called it a naked walk because it got such a reaction from people visiting and nurses.
Right.
Going for a naked walk. Then came time to walk in Tooting Broadway. So, sorry, Brad, did you say you've been to London?
No, unfortunately I wasn't.
Okay. So, Tooting Broadway is an area in South London, okay? An area they call up and coming. Think a lot of sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty. It's hectic and boys are busy. Walk with a cane. Walk with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turned the corner to walk on the high street of Tooting Broadway. Immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right-hand side. Thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking this is a pretty wild place to neuro walk. After a few days of this, I was thinking this is the worst place to neuro walk in the world. Can't they see him trying to walk here? Can't they see him trying here? And one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to neuro walk in the world. Maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. Your change always didn't change, right, Brad?
Right.
I went from the worst to the best in my mind, and I'm moving forward with that. What are you looking at in your life? You're convinced it's the worst. Convinced that's the worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit. Shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts. It will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you or a loved one. You will take that punch in the mouth. How you respond? I'm offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north, Brad. Living as a mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks to allow you and your team to be better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen. The reason why I told you this about learning to walk and tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world you look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. That's the story of walking between Broadway and the lesson I learned after the fact. But a mindset nonetheless that I want to pass on to your listeners.
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant. The only question that kind of popped up for me was, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this, but what was your time frame from you woke up in the bed? This is obviously we're stepping back a little bit, and you went through the negative talk to the point where you finally said, "Okay, let me. I'm gonna work myself through the situation, and I'm gonna make." How was that? Was it days? Was it minutes? Was it hours?
It was weeks, if not months, to get through this point to be like okay with this.
Yeah,
I kept grinding, kept fighting, but I was not happy with the situation. But I realized quite soon on, dude, it happened. Excuse me. You can't be woes me about this down the pity spiral, but you got to accept it and move forwards. And this took a good month, if not more, to deal with this and get my head around this right. But I never got negative. People visiting the hospital, they said, Dan, you're so chipper and positive with the whole thing. Because I knew that me putting that on you is not going to be a good reflection of what I'm trying to do. And going to make you probably not want to visit me in the hospital. Dan's all woes me and all Eeyore about this. It's not cool. It's a mindset from the start, from the jump. But it's not easy to adapt this mindset, Brad.
Right. So the reason why I said that was, now this is way down compared to what you went through. But so I'm an endurance coach. I help people make it to their first marathons and Ironman triathlons and ultra marathons and stuff like that. And I always say the same thing once they've either had a great race or they've had a horrible race or they've had a horrible training run or something like that. And they're like, oh, and they get down on themselves. And I'm like, okay, listen, you have 20 minutes. And it says, start your timer. And if they had a bad session, they had a bad race, I'm like, you got 20 minutes, get it out, cry, yell, get mad at yourself. But the minute that timer goes off, you need him now. Now it's time to step forward. And it's the same thing with the high. It's the other way too, right? Because most of my clients are habitual racers. So there's always another challenge on the horizon. So 20 minutes, you get to celebrate, caw, yell and scream for joy and be great with yourself. But that 20 minutes ends, just settle in because we got something else to accomplish. And I've been finding that really works. I know it works for me. It's just that I have that time limit right there. So it sounded like you had a certain time and you were like, okay, all right, done with the woe is me. And now I got to do something about it. And I respect that.
I think acceptance is probably the most important thing I talk about in life. And that's accepting what happened. Because if you don't accept it, you can't move forward. You can't improve your law. You can't agree to the new terms. Unless you agree to the new terms, you can't improve those terms. This is the new parameters. We're here. Brain hemorrhage. Coma, can't walk, talk, or smile. Go. You got to agree to that terms, and you can improve those terms once you agree to it. If you don't agree with it, you can whinge about it for a month, 6 months. And it was 6 months, you realize I could have been making steps forward in this whole time. You have to accept it to move forward. And that's not easy to hear from people because they're like, you don't know my story. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't know your story. But guess what? I know this to be true. And I believe this with my whole heart. You have to accept it and then take steps to improve it. Now I had a lot of help, Brad. My mom and dad came over from Vancouver to London. Friends came to visit me and support me. Everyone was cheering me on and supporting me. Work was super accommodating, cheering me on, succeeding me. But like, it was arduous, difficult, grindy. Like the nights in the hospital, I talked about this on a podcast recently, and I haven't shared this story before, so I'll share it with you now, Brad. But like, the hospital in the day and the hospital at night are two different things, right? Hospital in the day, the doctors are there, the families are there, the people are visiting you, having friends cheering you on. The nighttime, they'll go away. The doctors go away, the friends go away, the family goes away. And you're left in the intensive care unit, the wails of people that have lost their way, their life, their ability to function and live and be a person. And the wails haunt you. And it's dark and it's scary, but no one can help you go through that. You have to go through that part on your own. You can't tell them, hey, it's pretty scary at nighttime, but they can't stay overnight to like make you better. Not to mention, I'm like a 20-year-old guy at this age. Like, you got to sack up and deal with this. But like, it's challenging, man. But like, it is something that's super dark, and I've never really mentioned before because I don't really like to talk about the dark stuff too much. Right. But it's important to know that you're going to go through this, and you have to go through it to make it work because no one's coming to drag you through those nights. You got to get the rest and the sleep, and eventually you get strategies to deal with this. Like, I have headphones and watch movies and just drown out the noise. The wails, man, they still haunt you today. Like the screams and the cries and the desperation and despair. People's voices are just haunted.
Were any of those wails, like in the beginning, were any of those wails yours?
No.
Okay, good. So you got your wits about you pretty fast.
Well, I realized quickly, like this has happened, and you can't undo what's happened. It's happened. So I wasn't happy that it happened, and I'm very clear that I've got to take steps to improve this, but like, writing about it's not going to make any difference to this right now. You got to accept this and move forwards. Just say that I was totally like chipper and upbeat off the hop, but I put on a face and a brave face for friends and family to like, we're navigating this, we're building myself back up. And it was difficult. Like, my friend Claire came to visit me and visit me a few days and then went up to Scotland. I was in a wheelchair when she left London. When she came back then, I was in the zero frame, I was walking. Like, Dan, you're doing so well. I want to show that I'm worthy of the praise you're giving me, the accolades you're claiming that I have. I gotta earn this. So maybe fake it with you and show that I'm trying. But like, I knew myself I wasn't trying hard enough. You gotta grind, you gotta fight, you gotta find that fight in you. And I wanted to show that I was worthy of the praise I was getting. So I worked my tail off to make it happen.
So that was obviously you already had the stimuli that you just wanted to get better because you wanted to walk. That's just an internal thing. I'm going to survive. I'm going to walk. I'm going to do that stuff. But you gave yourself an external stimuli of your friends giving you praise on how good you're doing, and you stating that, no, well, I want to be worthy of that, so I'm going to work that much harder. And I think, and while a lot of people would say, well, that doesn't matter, the praise that you got from your family, it doesn't matter. And I don't know why you thought about that, because a lot of people will say that. All the gurus will be like, well, it should be all about you, because it is about you. But I love that you said that, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Whatever gives you the motivation, the desire, the stimuli to make yourself better, whether it's the praise from somebody else that you want to be worthy of, or whether it's if someone's going through an injury and they can't hold their own child and they're going to get better to hold their child, or to play with their child, to run with their child. I deal with a lot of people that might be a little overweight and they feel like, oh, well, I don't have the energy to run after my kids. Well, this is your stimuli. You want to run after them? Then you got to do this. You want to play with them? You want to be just as energetic? You can't eat that. We need to find a replacement for that. So I love the fact that you used that you used the external and that you weren't like into yourself, no matter.
I mentioned like in my talks, like motivation initially came from that dark place of proving you wrong, right? And that's very, like, it should be inside yourself and just adding value. And but that dark place of motivation is just it burns hot, man. It burns ferociously hot. I watched The Last Dance, Michael Jordan documentary. Have you seen that?
Yes. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, of course, man. So I watched that, and the thing I noticed most apparent was that how he motivated himself. Some guy will chirp him and say something wrong. Like, cool, I got you next game. I'm going to torture you and embarrass you in front of all your friends and family. And I got that inside me in spades. Now, I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, right? That's ridiculous. But the more I watched that documentary, the more I was like, this is like involved in him now. But I saw how bitter and jaded he was. And then, and like how he's now. He's still competitive and still fiery. I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan. But I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, Brad. I've got that inside me in spades, but I've noticed how bitter he was, and I wanted to transition that to more of a service motivation. So now I'm motivated by service, lending a hand. Your success is my success. My success is your success. When it comes to an altruistic place, I'm not going to be a bitter old jaded man. I'm going to be like, I want to cheer you on. I want to be in your corner. I want to be supporting you. But to say that it's gone away would be a lie. It's just I'm trying to transition most of my motivation out of that service piece and not the proving you wrong piece.
And I totally get that. I've gotten to the point where after 13 years that at first, when I started coaching triathletes and stuff, and I was more embedded in the community and I was racing myself, still racing, not doing it as much, but when I was racing a lot, I would find myself, well, if you're the coach, you need to be better than your own client, right? So you need to beat them. And I'm like, no, you don't. If you're coaching them well enough, you should be training them to beat you. So now as much as I love competing, I would rather be there for them and watch them come along that finish line. Coming across that finish line, whether they hit their goal or not, but especially when they hit their goals, is the most fulfilling thing that I could possibly imagine. There is nothing better. Like when I first started doing Ironman triathlons, I couldn't wait for Mike Daniels to come out and say, hey, Brad, you are and then the whole place would go Ironman. And now I just want to be there, and I want my clients, and I want to sit there and say, I want to say, Stephen Bossert, you are and I want to be there for that and watch that. And I get such a thrill out of it because it's that service, and it just becomes, I can move that competitive spirit I had as a competitor and move that into my clients. And I think that's where you're going with that.
Exactly. And I want to be very clear with this. Like, you can't force the motivation from coming from one angle or another. You got to ride the way that it comes. Don't try to shoehorn it into this motivation coming from this place. If it comes this way, ride the wave, baby, because those waves are few and far between. If you wait for the wave that you want to come, it may be too late to improve on your lot if you do that. So don't try to make it this happy, holistic place. If it's dark and dirty, man, ride it dark and dirty.
I get that. And I say the same thing. I'm like, you know what, when you go out and obviously, and I've done it myself, you go out for a certain training session, or even at work, sometimes you're in the middle of a project or something and it doesn't go your way. And you don't have it that day, or at least when you're out there, or the ideas, the tools aren't fitting the way you want them to if you're at work. And I was like, you know what, you need to train the athlete that showed up. You need to work with the coder or the manager that showed up that day. And if you keep doing that, those waves that you're talking about, the waves of motivation, because motivation comes and goes, they will show up more and more as long as you keep that mentality of, okay, you know what, there's good days and there's bad days. You just need to train, or you need to be the person that showed up that day, because that motivation will come back. And the more you do it, the motivation shows up more in spades. And my other thing that I always talk about is that there's a difference between motivation and desire. Yeah. Desire is a straight line. You have a desire to finish this. You have a straight line, throw away. You've got a plan and you're going for it. Desire doesn't cause you to get excited about something. Motivation does. But motivation is come and go. If you've got desire to do it, whether you're motivated to do it or not, you're going to do it because the desire is there. Yeah. Will it be the greatest workout or the greatest thing you've ever done? Probably not. But the next day it might be. So
I talk about like this, how you do stuff, how do you complete stuff. It's like you prove yourself by creating a stack of undeniable proof that says you say who you say you are. You say who you are who you say you are. That's not mine, it's Alex Hormozzi's. But build that stack of evidence that says you do what you say you're going to do. Keep promises to yourself. So, for instance, I meditate every day for 20 minutes. Start with 2 minutes in the morning. Next week at 4. Week after at 6. then 8, then 10, then 12, then 14, then 16, then 18, then 22, then 24. But I ratchet this up, and I know that I do what I say I'm going to do. I go swimming, for instance. I'm going to go today after this podcast. I go in the pool, I sit and intend for the amount of lengths I want to do. I owe those lengths. I don't get out of the pool until I'm done. Save one exception, Brad. If there's a backstroker on my lane, I will bounce under there so damn fast you won't even believe it. Pick your heads. But I owe those lengths. I owe them. I keep promising myself, so I knew that I can do hard stuff. I cold shower every day for 2 minutes. In the summer in Vancouver, not a big deal. In the winter in Vancouver, a bit more abrasive. But I never liked it, but now I crave it. I crave the hard stuff. You got to do hard stuff that shows that you can do what you say you're going to do. And you ratchet it up, man. Before you ratchet up to a point where it's super taut up here, but you started down here. But only by proving yourself that you do what you say you're going to do can you do this, by building that stack of undeniable proof. So I implore your listeners to just start small and grow and ratchet. You're at a new level. Your levels and standards have risen. And that's one way they can improve and ratchet this up for themselves.
And that literally, what you just said, is what this podcast is all about. This is why I started it. It's the idea that people have done hard stuff and have challenged themselves above and beyond what they ever thought was possible and came out the other side and changed their lives because of it. So I constantly, and I bring this up all the time, but I had a friend who helped me get into coaching, and she was 250 pounds on a 5'1" frame. And she tried the fad diets and stuff, and she had a lot of stuff going on in her life and the whole bit. And then she ran a 5K, and she was like, okay, I finally finished the 5K. But she's like, I need to do something more. But there's the way to do this that everything was saying from her, the web, all the experts. Okay, you have this kind of a diet that you got to do. You got to be in the gym for this long. You got to make sure that you're doing this many calories, blah, blah, blah. And she's, I don't want to do that. I don't know how to move forward. And one day she's sitting in her living room and she's flipping through the channels, and she just happened to come upon Ironman World Championships in Kona that year. Cool. She's watching it and she's, wow, it's like, that's pretty amazing. And she started doing some research, and she realized, and this is here in Florida, there is a Florida Ironman, which is basically, that's a contender to get you to Kona, because Kona is the World Championships, and that's the only thing you're going to see on TV. You're never going to see just one of our regular races. But she goes, wow, I would like to do that. So that's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run consecutively. And she says, well, wait a second, that might be it. So what she decided to do was she's going to sign up and she's going to do this Ironman. And on the way, and she says, I'm just going to finish it. I'm going to do that. On the way, because of the training, and she had to learn how to fuel, she had to learn all this, she lost the weight on the way, to the point where she stood on that beach on race day in a size small wetsuit at 120 pounds. But it wasn't the normal way to go about it. She had to do something hard. She had to step way out of her comfort zone and do the hard stuff. And because of it, she was rewarded with a better body, better fitness, better mindset. And she did 3 more after that. So
it's a wonderful story. And I think, Brad, the key lesson here for me is it's not easy, but it's simple. Like, it's simple to decide I'm going to do an Ironman. It's not easy, but I want to do an Ironman. It's very simple to decide I'm doing this. In life, the hard things in life are easy to decide, difficult to execute on.
Yes.
But just make it that way and just ratchet it up, man. I'm saying just aim small and then build. New level up. Aim small, build. I used to have to use a bath mat in London to shower, like a shower mat to keep my balance. I hated this bloody thing because I put it up on the wall to dry. Every day reminding I'm not good enough to stand in the bath on the shower on my own because I need a bath mat. And it drove me nuts. Eventually I said, you know what, the hell with this bath mat, I'm not using it. I told my parents, I'm not using the bath mat anymore. It's ridiculous. It just puts me down. I don't feel good enough to be in the shower. Oh, Dan, you can't do that. It's going to be too risky. It's too slippery in there. Like, I'll be fine. Guess what? I did it and I was fine, and I ditched the bath mat. I used to walk with a cane to get around London. I went to Vancouver one summer, forgot the cane. Guess what? I was fine without the cane. Ditched the cane. Used to wear contact lenses when I went to South Africa. Decided the dust and dirt would get my eye. It blocks the vision of my eye. And I ditched the contact lens, so I didn't bring it to South Africa, so I ditched the contact lens. But by ratcheting up and risking failure, I was able to get and stretch myself to the point where I have my level, my new norm. But only by risking failure do you risk failing can you improve. And you got to fail at times. I fail a lot in life. I fall down 7, get up 8 kind of vibe. But only by risking failure can you improve it and take a step forward. That makes sense.
There is no success without failure.
Exactly.
So, yeah. No, I get it. And yeah, success is the ratchet, is the progressive way of getting better and better. And some people's success is other people's failures. And some people's successes are other people's I don't say wet dream. I'm sorry about that. But their fantasy, their big giant fantasy. You know what I mean? You mentioned Michael Jordan. So I watched the 3-peat. I was there for it. And to think of me being able to win an NBA world title just to get in the NBA, and I'm only 5'5", I'm only 5'8", so I was never get it anyway. So that's like a huge giant fantasy, right? But Michael Jordan, that's success. So we have to understand that there are those levels, and it's not necessarily a learning or a skill. It's who you are, right?
You got to embody it and you got to own it. Every day I have this like mantra, live by better than yesterday. That's what I call it. Every day, everything is better than yesterday. I'm trying to ratchet this up. But only by failing do I realize where those better points come from, right? So on this podcast a while ago about gaming, like video gaming, I'm not a gamer, to be honest, Brad. So I was a bit nervous with the podcast. I'm like, well, the guy asked me, the host asked me, what's the last video game you really played? I'm like, well, Mario Kart 64. We'll talk about that. It's related to that. I'm like, cool. Like life is like Mario Kart 64. We're on the first lap, hit the obstacle in turn 2. Cool. Second lap, hit the obstacle in turn 2 again. Cool. Third lap, hit that obstacle again. It's like, dude, you know the obstacle's there. Drive around it. You know this is happening. You got to adapt to the situation. You got to adapt to life's parameters. Like, you know what's there, avoid it. If you don't improve, like you're not learning this, and hey, I can't help you. The obstacle's there for the third lap. You can't hit that obstacle again, right? Life's like this. You'll see patterns. You'll see things that are going to be failure points. Like avoid that next time. And I fail a lot, but rarely do I fail the same thing twice. I have, but rarely do I fail the same thing twice. But only by failing do you improve and risk improving your lot. But better than yesterday, what I want to get across your audience here, Brad, is embody that and watch the world conspire to help you get better.
Exactly. And I say 1% better every day. You know what, though? You're going to fail at that. The goal is 1% better every single day, 1% better every single day. But there's going to be days you miss that 1%, and that's okay because that's the day you learned something. And before you know it, the next day is 2% better. You never know. Maybe it's 10% better the next time you get out there.
Right.
So exactly. So, and I appreciate this is exactly what these nuggets of information that I want to bring to everybody. If there's one thing that we talked about that somebody can take away and let's use your word, ratchet up their lives or start the plan to ratchet up their lives, then we've done the audience and who's ever listening a service. So, but let's step back into the story here a little bit because that wasn't the end. When you finally were able to walk and talk and get back to your life, that wasn't the end. Something else happened. Yeah.
So I had a year of working. I've managed to get back to the office 2.5 days a week, 3.5 days a week. Light workload. It was super accommodating. But this is after months of arduous work and rehab and vocational rehab, working on my speech and cognitive and brain function, how I could do this and get back to my job. I had a setback. I used to be my mom with the tube before I went to work, and she'd go off on her walk, and I'd go off to work. One day I didn't show up. She called my flat, or called my cell, no response. Walked my flat about 5 minutes away from Salt Tube Station. She found me unconscious on the floor. She called 999. I was rushed to hospital. Had emergency brain surgery. I had something called hydrocephalus or water on the brain. I find out this is pretty rare. Less than 10% of cases, they tell me. Lucky me. So we got the next day with the beeping noise, the heart rate going up. I'm beep. What happened? Well, then you had a second setback. You had an emergency brain surgery. I'm like, well, all my progress is washed away. I can't tell you how low this was, Brad. The carpet was literally ripped from underneath my feet. Back to work, I was making progress. I was making gains. I was putting this behind me. And it clawed its way back and grabbed my ankle and ripped me down. And I call this the depths of the human experience. My recovery is like a W, right? The first setback's down here. Climb back, I'm back, halfway back up where I was. Second setback's not where the first one was. Much lower. The depths of the human experience. Where your hopes and dreams go to die. You're snickered out. You thought you had a chance, bud. You're not leaving this place. You're not getting out of here alive. We're going to come for you. This was the depths, man. Rock bottom for me. And it took a while to get my mindset right around this. But after about a month and a half, I realized that, you know what? You know how to rehab better. I'd lost the gains from rehab, but I knew how to rehab better. I had done so where the mindset of rehab was there in my mind. I could build this back up faster than last time because I knew the tricks and way to go about this. But this was devastating. The darkest time for me and my family. It was so difficult to get myself pure and keep myself on task and ratchet this up. But it was just in the mind of, it's not what happens to you, but I respond to it, right? And I quickly started making gains and building myself back up and getting back to work. And happy to say that's behind me now, but that was by far the most difficult thing I've experienced. And I could walk from this experience. So I was in the wheelchair, so I was much further ahead than I was the first time. To make that progress, to make those gains, and to suddenly have them ripped away, it was just devastating.
What was the time to get back compared to the first time? Now, obviously you can walk, but what about the rest of it? What about the cognitive? What about the vision, the speech?
Yeah, and the walking part was a huge thing that kind of sped up the recovery process. But this was back to work maybe 4 months from that. And I already done rehab, so I couldn't go back to in-person rehab. But my mom had to fight tooth and nail to get like online or like over the phone support, visit me at home support because I'd already done rehab, right? So this was grindy, in the gutter, like dogfight kind of stuff where I'm like knife fighting my way back up the ladder here.
Yeah.
And it was devastating.
So
really devastating.
So, okay, so it's okay, but I'm curious. So obviously I'm not sure about how the whole medical system works up there, because it's obviously different than here. But, obviously they didn't consider this a separate incident. They consider this just a relapse from the first incident.
Something like that. Instead of go back to like in-person rehab, which I'd done before, right? But don't get me wrong, the medical system in London is one of the best in the world. This was quite challenging, quite an acute situation, quite a unique experience. Less than 10% of cases, they told me. So I was like, for a few weeks there, for a month or so, woe is me, this isn't fair. 10% of cases I get hit with this? You got to be kidding me. Have you not seen what I've been through already? But it's not what happens to you, but I respond to the matters, right? And over time, I ratcheted this up and got my head on right. Started attacking this one step at a time. One step forward, one step forward, one step forward.
So how long did it take you to get back from this one?
Well, it's not a going thing, man. It's I'm still making gains now. I think like the major gains I've done maybe 5-6 years after this, but I'm 10 years out now and I'm still making gains day in, day out.
Wow.
The brain injury is not like you're healed, you're fixed. It's every day I have to wake with intentionality. I have a morning routine to start my day off right and get myself in the mind space to attack the day and to get after it. Because if you don't, man, you'll flounder on the sidelines. I've got to respect my battery now. My battery is about 75% of yours, Brad. And it drains much faster. Below 50, I'm less pleasant. Below 45, I'm a bit of a prick. I take a nap or meditate to recharge my batteries. It's only by failing do I know these parameters now. But you got to push it to know where those parameters are. But it's devastating, really. But it makes you stronger, right? Like it's a scar got on me now. It's made me better. My mindset solidified. It's calcified my mindset about, no, this is the way to approach life. I played Monopoly with my family 2 years ago in Gibson's, in our cottage Gibson's. And Brad, I'll be honest, I might have given a cheeky Google about how to win a Monopoly before we put the game. But I found out the rules of avoid the railroads, avoid utilities, avoid like the expensive properties on the lot. Focus on getting a Monopoly. I'm going around. Land on the railroad. No, thanks. I don't want that. Hit the utility. No, thanks. I don't want that. Hit Park Place. On our board here in Canada, that's the top spot on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Want that? No. Dan, do you know how to play Monopoly? Yeah, I do. I got a Monopoly on Marvin Gardens at Yellow Patra, the first strip of the block.
Right.
All the money that I didn't spend on those properties, I put on motels, houses, and that's about $1,200. That's bankruptcy for you. I wiped the floor with them. I tell you that story, so if you know the path or the plan is right, stick to your guns, man. If people telling you, like, you want this, Dan, you want this, Dan? No, I don't want that. I want this. And when you know that, own that and follow through with it with your whole heart. Don't get waffling on this. Make a plan and stick with it, man. So like the Monopoly games are simple for life about how to recover. Do it. Don't get the shiny object syndrome here. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. This is what I need to do. And get to work, man. I call work chop wood, carry water. So when you get waffling about this, what do I do? Chop wood, carry water. Get in the podcast. Get on my emails. Chase some leads with the list of emails I built out. I'm chasing down leads and deals. Like it's about the work, man. When you know the plan's right, stick to your guns and follow in the plan.
You are preaching to the choir, my friend. That's what I do. My clients tell me I want to do this race and I want to do it in this time. If they're doing a triathlon, I want to do the swim in this. I want to be able to finish the bike in this. I want to finish the thing. And then my job is to put the plan together to get them there. And then I modify it along the way, depending on their successes. Sometimes they succeed faster. So now I got to make it harder. Sometimes I've made it too aggressive. I got to pull them back. But that's my job. For them is to execute. They know what they got to do. So they're always asking, hey, coach, why are we doing this? And I'm like, you should ask that. If you can't ask that to your coach and the coach can't answer you, don't have a very good coach. So I always tell them that. Some of them are okay with just blindly following me because they've been with me for so long. They understand it's going to get them there. But a lot of them, they're asking, well, why are we doing this? And I can tell them exactly, well, you're doing this for endurance. You're doing this for tempo. You're doing this for speed. You're doing this for that. And once we get to this point, then we're going to move on to this point, and we're going to get this. By time we're done, this is how we're going to smash your goals. So there's a plan, and now we stick to it and we go forward. I provide the motivation. They provide the desire.
Right, man.
So it's amazing. So I don't think it's a how. It's like a when did you come up with this knowledge, this wisdom as you were going through your recovery and put it into practice in speaking to businesses and corporations and the things that you do now?
So the dots lined up looking back. At the point of contact, you're looking to survive. You're looking to take the next step and you're looking to improve. All these funny stories and whimsical expressions and things at the time. At the point, like when you drop that clicker, man, you're not worried about what's the lesson. You're looking about how to get the bloody clicker. Like you can't focus on the lessons then, fight to survive then, and the dots will line up looking back. That's what I'd tell now. The lessons I've learned through the experience are looking back, not looking forwards.
Very good. So you're able to take all that, and you package it up.
Yeah, so I speak about mindset, perspective, and resilience. Share my stories and my experience because not so you think, oh, Dan's so great, look what he's been through. Although Brad, there's probably a bit of that in there, I'll be honest. I've got a bit of an ego. But it's more so see this guy's done and why can't I? He's no better than me. I did these brain scans. Last year, Health Tech Connect, BC Canada, shout out Health Tech Connect. My results came, they put this cap on your head, put gel in there, and they ask you these questions like horse, dog, hot dog, cucumber, whatever. They see the synapses fire on the words they're saying. The results came back as average, right? 2 brain injuries, that's pretty damn good. Average is pretty damn good. I read this as shockingly average, Brad. I'm shockingly average. I've recovered so well, and I'm shockingly average. But the more I thought about it, the more that means I'm no better than you. I'm no smarter than anyone on this podcast right now. I've just chosen to go forward with that plan and follow through with the Monopoly story, right? Like you follow the plan, follow through the plan. The work, man. There's no exception for the work. Day in, day out grind. It's not pleasant, it's not dreamy, it's not sexy, but it's the work. And day in, day out. You gotta love that. You gotta love the pain, the grind, the grit, that fight. You get to do this. Day in, day out. day in, day out.
That's exactly how I think about stuff like that. It's you get to do this. You're put on this earth to do this. That desire is there, but you got to put in the work. You got to write it out.
Day in, day out work.
Yep.
Every day I wake up with a routine, mindset, meditation, cold shower. I armor up for the day with intentionality. There's no maybes about my life now. It's like, I do this, I don't do that. I do this, I do that. You got to earn it every day. The day you take off, the day you flounder, you fall short, you could have been better. And I see that in myself now. The brain is like, I was a bit tired then. I said this, I shouldn't have said that. You're a bit tired, you skipped this, you thought you were better than that. Every day, work in, work out, clock in, clock out, see it work. It's not, no shortcuts here. There's no fast hacks or habits, but it's just day in, day out grind, man.
Yes. Get it. And Chris McCormick, famous triathlete, he always says, embrace the suck. Embrace
the suck.
Yeah. That's what's making you better.
I got these tattoos on my left thigh from where I wore the splint. I'm getting the tattoo. I got the tattoo in the back of my leg. The second he put the first prick in the tattoo, like by my kneecap, I was like, this was a horrible mistake. Why did I put it so far down my leg? This is a dumb idea. And I realized you've got a 7-hour session with this guy. You got to embrace the suck here. Every time it would start to hurt, I go, thank you, Danny. I appreciate this. This is very nice of you. Thank you very much, Danny.
Yes.
Thank you for giving this tattoo. It's awesome. Every time I thought this is painful, thank you, Danny. That's awesome, man. Now it works beautiful. It's on my leg. Like, only by embracing the suck do I get the tattoo. The second he did that first prick, I realized this is a poor placement, Dan. You made this choice. You got to ride it out. And you can't change it now because the tattoo look all messed up. So you got to ride with this, man. But thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have this tattoo. Thank you for the opportunity for the suck. Like, just switch it in your mind. It's about mindset, right? Like your podcast is about mindset. It's everything. The hacks I give are all about changing how you perspective. The worst know the best. If you can do that, man, you're unbeatable because the compass, not the map. The compass is there. Anything you face, you can navigate through. If I give you a map, it's like, well, this is a different map than what I got here. This is not where the train we got. If I give you the compass, now the true north is up here around the mountain. You can go this way. The compass always points north.
Exactly. All right. Well, you have definitely given me and everybody here a lot to think about. Talk about changing your perception, ratcheting up every single day, having a plan and sticking with it no matter what. It's a plan for your life. It's a plan for what you want to do. It's a plan for a race. It's a plan for anything, but you go in there and you follow it and you do it and you do everything possible to go 1% better every single day. And it's not going to happen every day. There's sometimes you are going to fail, but you learn from the failure and move on. Can't have success without failure. So I really appreciate it. What's up next for you?
Thanks, Brad. So I'm a speaker based in Vancouver, Canada. I'm ratcheting up for a big fall, big autumn here in Vancouver with Speakers Bureau of Canada now and also Pep Talk. I'm speaking and inspiring people to be better than yesterday. Improving a lot. I gave a talk for Service Canada last month. Got a 99% endorsement of the participants who answered the survey. So 111 or 112 said yes. And Sourpuss said no, which I guess means I'm pushing some buttons that maybe not uncomfortable to some people, right? It was on you. If everything's on you, I don't like that. This isn't my fault. You don't know me. It's, well, maybe not. I can tell you with all certainty in my heart, this is the way forward. If you don't agree, that's fine. You do you. But I know in my heart, this is the way forward. So I'm speaking now, changing perspectives and being a guest on lots of podcasts, ratcheting this up and making an impact in the world, man. I'm trying to make my impact big, trying to make the lessons learned from this world, not worldwide, but like, why don't I just give it to you? Why don't I just tell you the way through the compass? Give you the compass. I have a lot of help, Brad. You don't have the help I had. If I can give you the compass, man, you can deal with anything else on your own.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate it. And good luck at all the speaking events that you do. I don't think you're going to need it because the passion that you have is undeniable. So thank you. Thank you for joining us here. I really appreciate your passion. And you are on, how could somebody get a hold of you? What's the best way for someone to ask you questions, find out where you're going to be speaking next? Besides, you do have a website. I don't know. It's MacQueenDan.com.
That's right. Yeah. MAC. So across the socials, I'm MacQueen Dan. All the socials, I'm MacQueen Dan. So MAC, Queen, Dan. Instagram and LinkedIn are probably most active. Twitter, not so much. Facebook's on there, so don't worry about Facebook. But it's on there. I'm ratcheting this up. I'm trying to make an impact, man. I'm trying to show the way out is through. And if I can share my experience and you learn a lesson from what I've been through, that's what I want to do. Because I don't want anyone to go through what I've been through, right?
Right.
I worked so hard to get through this, and I had so much help to get through this. If you don't have the help, you're going to be in a tough way. I want to pay it forward. I want to make an impact and change your perspective. Change the way you look at the world, man.
Absolutely. And that's the best advice you can give anybody, and especially in this world. So thank you. Thank you again. I'll put all of that, what he just stated, in the show notes, all of the social links plus his Dan's website. So I'm going to have that for you. So check out the show notes for that. And Dan, listen, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much.
Hey, Brad, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. And all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you. All right, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Well, that wraps up another episode of Life-Changing Challengers. I'm your host, Brad Minus, saying thank you for joining us on this journey of transformation. If today's stories inspired you, please take a moment to review, share, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create an even bigger impact. Remember, every challenge is a chance to grow. Until next time, keep pushing, keep challenging, and never stop pursuing your extraordinary.